Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for tonight's webinar. We're really excited to have everyone here tonight, especially to announce the new attachment, the new feature of the Remy Class 4 laser system. So my name is Sarah Bremeyer. I'm going to be just kind of in the background for everyone this evening, running the slides. And so just a couple of quick housekeeping things that I always like to get through before we start. This is using GoToWebinar, as you know. I'm sure you've noticed by now. So you are all muted, but if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. You can scroll down on your GoToMeeting tools where it says chat or questions, and you can type all of your questions for our presenters this evening. And I highly recommend that if a question comes to you, don't wait until the question and answer period. Go ahead and just type it in the question box, and so you don't forget, and we will get to it. Either I don't know, we may stop in the middle and answer some questions, or we may just hold them all till the end, but I will let our presenters decide how they would like to do that as we go through. So tonight we have Dr. Paul Clint Jones and Dr. David Zuckerman. Dr. David Zuckerman is, as some of you probably already know, is the individual responsible for bringing the Remy Class 4 laser to the podiatry space. We brought it to the market in 2018, and since then we have placed over 500 lasers in podiatry offices around the United States. And so we're really excited this evening again to announce even more capabilities of the Remy Class 4 laser. So we're going to dive deeper into warts, and we're going to announce the Matrixectomy feature of the Remy. And we also have Dr. Jones, and I'm actually going to let David introduce Dr. Jones, but we're really excited to have him here. He has been critical in bringing the new feature to the Remy Class 4 laser, and the last 2 days I've been watching a lot of videos that I don't really want to watch again, but it is incredible what this laser can do. So I am going to mute myself, and I'm going to give it up to David. And David, you just let me know when you want me to go to the next slide.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Sarah. And I also include that Sarah has been very important in our team. She is the director of all the marketing. So if you're getting great marketing, you're getting it from Sarah. And I want to thank Sarah for putting this together tonight. She did a great job. This is going to be like an opening discussion. What excites me about this is that, and you know, you talk to a lot of podiatrists across the country, you meet a lot of people, but it's a great moment when you meet somebody that you immediately connect with. This is Clint, Dr. Jones. And I'm just fascinated by his take on the Remy, and that's what this is really about. We're going to talk about matrixectomies, warts, but his take. I'd have to say, when I first met him, months with an S, it's been a while. It seems like years, which is positive. That he was a skeptic. He was a very skeptic about why should I have the laser, why should I do this, and why should I do that. And let me tell you something. That's you can go to the next slide, Sarah. That's my philosophy. I don't want anybody that purchases a Remy laser, I don't want to collect dust. I want it to be a device that, which is most important, effective. And I've always said this, we always give everybody a 90-day return. Nobody does this. And because I want you happy. The only time that we cannot give you a 90-day return is if you finance it because the bank owns it. And the Remy has stood on its own 2 feet, and that's what's been enjoyable. So I'm going to have Dr. Jones speak now. I'm very excited, and it's amazing to have a colleague that I consider a friend today because he's really contributed to this. I'm just amazing the talent that we have in our profession. Amazing. We should just have a slideshow of the way he used. I didn't know what a 3D printer was at all. Can you go back to that? Because I want to. We slipped this because you want to start the talk, Clint, or would you want me to do this first slide and then we
I
can?
think you're great. I want to keep on going. I love listening to you talk.
Okay. Sometimes I talk to myself too. But
Yeah.
anyway, the mission statement that I have with the Remy has been very, very important. And that's what's been the success. It's a podiatrist seeing what another podiatrist, what I feel needs to make his practice bigger and better. And it's always about effectiveness and treating your patients. So the laser has to be effective. It's got to be affordable to the patient, and you can't spend $30, $40, $50,000 on a one-trick pony laser that just does pain. The Remy does pain, fungus, it does warts, poros with anesthetic, again, pain, inflammation, neuropathy, wounds. It's got a whole array of techniques, and that's what's important for a good ROI. I'm just shocked at the ROIs that are coming in. COVID was very successful for the Remy. It helped a lot of practices that couldn't stay open. And again, I'll repeat, Sarah, you need good marketing. And that's important, effective marketing, which we include in it, customized marketing, whether it's posters, brochures, website links, videos. I always tell everybody, and that's on there, if you have a Remy, you may have forgotten this, and you may be a little stage fright, is that to me, it's very important. The Remy is not the brand in your practice, it's the doctor in the practice. So I've always offer at no additional charge that you do a video of you talking to your patients of why the Remy laser can help you as the doctor. It's not a salesmanship, but you have to be confident in it. So I always tell doctors when they get it, you don't do it the first month. If it's 6 months, a year, I don't care when it is, because it's important. And also patient testimonials. Patients like to see other patients. I probably have a couple hundred testimonials on the Remy lasers and hundreds of patient testimonials. And the last thing, and this is what amazes me about Dr. Jones, is his training and teaching. I watched him how he started with the matrixectomy. He 3D printed it, and how he evolved into these protocols, practice, which is going to tell you about. So it's very important to have good training. So when you get the matrixectomy handpiece option and the vacuum system, he will train you personally, which is included. I've always done that with other features, but you're going to find him an excellent teacher. He's taught me a lot. So next slide, and I think we can, there's the Remy. It's the powerful, portable, affordable, and multifunctional. That's the key.
That's key.
That's affordable. And you know something? The Remy's not a cheap laser, cheaply made. Just the case, just the casing of this laser. It's over $100,000 mold. It's Android, which means it can be fully upgraded. The Remy today is not the Remy we started out. You always got to think of new ideas to make it better and better and better, which is like yourself and your practice. You're always working on it. The matrixectomy, you know, that when I first heard it, and this is where Clint, Dr. Jones, opened my eyes up. The only reason I got involved with it is because I know in Europe they want, it's very hard to get chemicals. They're very difficult to get the phenol, the matrix, you know, the sodium hydroxide. So that's what gave me the idea, because there was a need for it. But after listening to him, I never did well with a CO2 laser for matrixectomies. I just didn't do well with it. It could have been I wasn't open-minded enough. But Dr. Jones has 20, am I right, about 20 years? How many years do you have using a CO2 laser? It's been a long time.
About 25.
Wow. Wow. And, you know, you got to keep an open mind. You know, we're all used to throwing phenol in there or sodium hydroxide. Listen to what he has to say about this. Next slide. And here we go.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Go ahead. Oh, I'll have fun. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, yeah. And if anybody has questions, don't hesitate to type in, and Sarah will interrupt me on it. There's something I'm not saying quite right. But anyway, there are a lot of different things that come into play with doing a phenol versus doing a laser type matrixectomy. But again, when you look at phenol, it's a great modality. It's had its history. It's well established. on what we were doing. And I was a podiatric assistant before I started school. And that's kind of where I got interested into podiatry in and of itself. But they were doing phenols, and they started getting their hands on the laser. And that's where I got started with a very big, bulky type of piece of equipment, but expensive. They literally had to, they had to rent it, and that was from a guy who bought a couple, and he would rent them out, and that's how he made his business, traveling around and scheduling for CO2. But in the meantime, we were doing the phenols, and again, as you can see the list on here, there's the shipping hazards with it. You have to pay the extra expense just to ship the stuff. And again, breaking it, one of the doctors that I worked with at the time, he got put in the hospital because they spilt a bottle in the patient's room and he didn't clear out right away. Almost killed him. So there are hazards with it. Granted, that's minimal, but they are there. Variable concentrations, you never know how long it sits on the shelf. They send you a quart-sized bottle and that's good for a lifetime, but the concentrations vary. You're dipping into a bottle between patients. Granted, there's technical ways where you can avoid cross-contamination, but it happens. Your staff works with stuff. It happens. The extra steps, dipping, setting it down, dipping, setting it down. There's lots of different things that can go wrong with all of that, let alone the fact that it's slow. So then the other thing is once you do put it in, everybody says, well, I put it in 3 times for 30 seconds. No, I do 2 times at 2 minutes. Well, why? Well, it's just what works for me. It's not because of what you were able to see happening. It's just what you've been taught and what's kind of worked up to that. You've got the splash damage, you got things that you're going to put it in there and the sucker drips on you, and now you got another piece of the toe being eaten up with acid that you weren't expected to do. So it's not something you want to have a fun time trying to explain to a patient. Then obviously there's allergic reactions. They come in with that big swollen, red, burning, itching toe that they think is a big, huge cellulitis, but they didn't come to you. They went to your primary care doctor first. And then they're on antibiotics, and then you find out a week later of the problems that they had. So there's things that you can't control with that. But that brings us again back to the Remy laser. Is there any way of closing this side window? Because I can't see the side of the side of the one side.
The orange arrow at the top.
No, I'm not going to shut off the whole system that way, right?
Okay,
we got it. We got it.
Orange at the top left. It's an orange arrow.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked. Press it. Why?
So we got the Remy laser, and again, what you see is what you get. I mean, and that's kind of a short-sighted answer because this thing's continued to evolve. Even in the time that I've had it since July, there's been things that have changed, advancements that have occurred, and the adaptability of the computer itself has been incredible with that. Then obviously laser light, there's no allergic reactions that we get with it. Peripheral injuries, that's if you're just talking too much and not watching where you're pointing. As far as getting ready to go, there's a lot of setup time, especially when it comes to doing a lot of peripherals, the acid, everything else. That's a lot of setup time, and setup time is time you're not making money. The Remy itself is just push a button, you're ready to go. Now, as far as the wow factor, that's impressive. Patients have always liked the laser type system. In my room, our office, there's a lot of different things going on. Each of the rooms have their own little theme. One's the Blazers, one's Beatles, one is the TVs and movies, and another one's Star Trek. And everybody loves the Star Trek room. People have a preference for that. When you say lasers, something goes off in their head about it. Then higher success rates for warts. When you talk about warts, cryotherapies, the stippling, everything that you use with it, they're about 50% success rate with it. And a lot of the patients that I get are previous history and failures with their PCPs. So when it comes to the Remy, we usually keeps variable or repeated visits with it, but that's not necessarily the bad thing, and I'll explain here in a little bit. But the higher success rate comes down to if it didn't work the first time, the second time it will. And then if it didn't work the second time, the third time it will. And again, people are going to ask questions about that. Feel free to, but I'm going to, again, explain why that's not necessarily a bad thing and why the patients actually get excited about it. So in the meantime, we've kind of become a Warts R Us part of town. And it works good with the advertising. It works really well with the patients and with your primary care doctors.
Yeah, I tried full body. When you're a podiatrist, when they, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think it's in podiatrists, they treat full body with the laser, whether it's musculoskeletal, warts, and fungus nails. So it's totally different over there, but it's amazing for hands, even though we don't treat hands. I think in Ohio they treat hands when I went to school, but that's how easy it is.
It's very nice, very, very nice. Now, they obviously there's the different classes. There's differences in expenses. There's differences in maintenance and care between the two different lasers. The CO2 laser, as you said, it's a one-trick pony. It's your one and done. And if you can't figure out what to do with an ingrown toenail or lasering off a wart, that's all you can use it for. That's not so when it comes to the Remy. Also, when you use the CO2 laser, it requires anesthesia. And granted, with the Remy, it depends on what you're doing, but you have the option of doing other things. Your short shelf life, you're trying to store gas. Gas leaks, and so over time, your laser becomes weaker and weaker. That's not the case with the Remy laser. And Dr. Zuckerman, I'm sorry, can explain a little bit more about that. But when you use it, in any type of modality that you use a CO2 laser, it requires vacuum. They smoke right crazy. You're ablating tissue. And so it smells, all that kind of stuff become involved with that. It's not programmable. Again, aside from changing the amount of wattage, that's it. You got one frequency and that's all it does. The equipment, they're big. Even the small ones, they're big. Again, you're trying to constantly update their, filling them with water. You're having to constantly clean them, etc. So your use, bottom line, is intermittent. So you don't get to constantly use it with every patient where it's a Remy because there's so much variability in it. There's a lot of things you can use it with each patient. So again, finally, chemical dissipation. This is the part that really got to me because CO2 laser, when you bring it in, that vacuum tip on it, the one I had to 3D print the baby, and so that part can't go through an autoclave. It just melts. You got to try and chemically disinfect, and that does okay. But again, you're already dealing with a technically contaminated type procedure. And in today's world, saying, well, it was a technically contaminated procedure and no big deal if it gets infected. It is a big deal, and it doesn't play within the standard of care when you do that type of thing. Whereas in the Remy, we're able to sterilize everything that touches the patient through an autoclave type format. So anyway, as we were saying before, the Remy class, multiple uses, and it looks like we've got more coming down the pipes. You can do ablative, non-ablative type procedures. The other thing that I was talking about before, and when we first started, we thought that the wart chips, you could autoclave them. You had to try and chemically disinfect them. But so I took up the challenge and ran it through the autoclave, and lo and behold, they autoclave just fine. And so that's been really, really nice to have that adjunct to the procedure in and of itself. He was saying that these come out with a 90-day return policy on them. Most electronics, that's all you get is 90 days, and that's just a warranty for breakage, not for return. This one has a 5-year warranty, and that shocked me, which again was a big, huge selling point for the procedure that I had, because I was like you. I was 10, 12 years ago trying to get started with doing a laser for fungal nails, and the machines back there were running between 50 to 90 grand. And again, this is not anywhere near that, and it's just plain simple and enjoyable to use. Do you have any other questions or things you wanted to add there with David?
Not really. You've covered it well, and I was trying to think who came up with that it could be autoclaved, and it was you. I couldn't think of who it was. I guess when you get older, you can't remember as much as you did, but it was you. And that is a big factor, because a lot of these devices out there, they try to make money on consumables. If you need to replace the tip, and the only reason you need to replace it is that if you don't properly clean it and you take care of it, but you got to always keep, you don't want any kind of char or dirt or anything to build up at the tip, so you're always keeping it clean, and then you autoclave it. You can get, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about this, but it's an estimate, between 5 and 10 times you can use it, and you're talking $9 a tip. It's very economical. I mean, there's some consumables out in the medical device field where they're taking 60, 70 dollars to replace some of their consumables. I'm not here to make money on consumables. I'm here to get satisfied colleagues, my podiatrist. 80% of the time, the Remy, I get referrals. I mean, interesting thing happened today, and I don't want to get too far off of this. You once told me, Clint, if I'm getting off, tell me, is I just had one of the head trainers in the NFL, because it is in the NFL, it's in the NBA, just text me and say to me, David, I have another trainer who wants to buy one. And I'm like, it's like with your patients, you've got to give them 100%. Clint and I had a discussion today. I had a colleague say to me one of my mentors many, many years ago, and I used to say, and we do surgery, talk about elective surgery, bunions and things. We do them we get paid to attempt to help the patient. That's not, and he turned around, I'll never forget. He says to me, "What, are you kidding me? We get paid for results. This is the real deal. So you got to get effective treatments. Nothing's perfect, but the feedback on the Remy, I get texts every day, especially with the pain and the inflammation. And the warts are very popular, which we're going to talk about some of the situations you may call it problems that doctors are having, which we've worked out. But we're always working to help you treat your patients better. That's my goal. If your patients are doing well, you're going to do well, and the practice is going to do well. Okay, we're on the next slide here. So that's the same. Okay.
Well, it is, but this went back to the fact that I was telling you about how negative a campaign this was, because when I first got my Remy, I started finding out I didn't have scars. There was no needles. There was no consents. There was no activity restrictions, no post-op pain, no post-op infection risk, no waste space, no cooling, and it has a 5-year warranty. I mean, how negative, positive can you get than saying no, 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 but yet it's all about the patient and delivering. So yeah, I love the machine from that standpoint, and he's right about the consumable type thing. That really bothered me. I'm a skinflint when it comes to that thing, and even him telling me, hey, you got $10 for this tip. And I thought, well, wait a minute. That's when I decided, hey, he says no, it can't be autoclaved. I threw it in and I melted it, and so I threw it in again, and I say I melted it. No, it didn't. So I threw it again. I did another 4 or 5 times trying to see if I could melt this sucker, and it didn't. So I've got some that are out there more than 10 times. And I just watch the tip to see how dirty it gets and see if the things are breaking. If they're not and they're still functioning well, I use it. And again, the nice thing is being able to tell your patient this is all a sterile procedure. It's not like you're wiping somebody else's stuff all over it. It's theirs and theirs only.
Yep.
Oh, that was a thing that bothered me, because and did you put in there about my experience with one of my reviews on the wart?
I think it's in there. We'll be coming to it, because I think it's
I'll save that for later, because there's some key things in there that mistakes you can make, that whether you made them or not, when the patient states it or puts it in writing, you have to own it. You don't get to say no, I didn't, or anything like that, whether it's true or not. And so you're trying to avoid those things are very important, and we'll get a look at one of those things. Are this one right here that can't swim for 4 to 8 weeks. You got to open road rash on there. That can get in people's way. You can get the procedure done and said, oh yeah, I can't come to the appointment next week, but I can come the following week because I got a trip to Hawaii. They don't tell you beforehand. My kid's got or is going to go to a birthday party, swim party in 2 days. Well, you should have told me that before. With the Remy, you don't have that issue.
Yep. Okay, I think we'll go to the next slide, Sarah. Okay, there's different ways to do the Remy. This has been going on for a couple of years. This procedure is by Dr. Oliveri. It's called the contact. And I don't know if we have a video of it. If we can't play video, we do. I have to tell you, I'd like you to comment on Clint, what he's doing, because that could hurt. But if you notice, he's moving it around. He's not pulling it back like I teach, but he's going side to side.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and this is interesting. This is something that I had to learn about, because with him moving side to side there, that's what's saving him having the pain, I believe, and why the patient holding still for him. Because when I started training, we were doing laser ankle scopes. And one of the things you had to do is you had to count the number of pulses. And the reason why is that if you get too many pulses in there, you boil the joint. You get too much heat build up. And this is all about energy. And in this particular situation here, he's moving from spot to spot. So yeah, he puts a certain amount of energy in the one contact, but he moves to a new spot and puts the energy there before he comes back. So things have time to cool down and not accumulate that energy, and it stays subclinical. I didn't think it would work, but it does.
Yeah. This is a video, I believe, this is your video of you doing it on the heel. And then we'll talk, I want to talk about this case, because it's an amazing case. This is Bishop that you showed me.
Yeah.
If you want to describe that one.
Yeah, this was a kid. He'd had a previous history of a CO2 laser removal, and that's where you're going to see some of the scars on here. And we got complete removal of, but he had obviously reoccurrence and then some with it. It just blew up all over the place. He had the big toes, all across the forefoot, the bad stuff in the heels. And so when he came back, he said, you know, I need to get rid of these. I really don't want to do the other. And I've gone through the cryotherapy and everything since I saw you last. So in this particular case, we pulled out the Remy on it. And this one, we had actually 10 visits with it. When it first started out, I let him know that, you know, this may take a little bit of time. And so he's been real diligent with it. He's done the post-op care with it. Then each time we visited, we'd see a little less. In this particular case, it was about 2 months before we really started seeing any significant change. It was getting shallower, but as far as overall disappearance of the lesion, not. Then all of a sudden, things started changing. Now, when I did it, you reach a point in many of the cases where you start to see some stria show up in the wound base. And when that happens, that's instead of every 2 weeks, I will actually bump them out to a month, because I start seeing more changes. I just need to give it more time and get myself a chance to assess how the wart is healing. And the last one, everything was almost completely gone. There's just 1 or 2 islands that we're left with, and it just continued to progress well. In this particular one, you saw where he was touching quick on, quick off type of thing. In this one right here, I started sweeping back and forth. Yeah, here's the quick touch, and I still do that with it. But in some cases, I'll sweep if I'm a little more comfortable and getting good results. And again, it all comes back to the amount of heat. And that seemed to do just fine with it. So you can adjust for this stuff of what fits your personal needs with it. But I usually stick with the touch technique, and I'll, again, jump between spots. If I can get a good centimeter between touches, I can almost always keep it pain-free.
Can I ask you a question, Clint? Because I don't think I've ever asked this for you. I came up with a suggestion, and I tried it on a podiatrist. He had a lot of warts. I was training him, and he said to me, "I got warts on my knee. Let's treat it." And it was bothering him because it's dorsum. Dorsum can bother you. You got to be very careful with dorsum, because you're going to have to control the heat, and it's all based on take your time. I find when I coach the doctor in a live procedure, which I've done, they do well. You know, I go through the motions of it, you know, show them on my hand. I've done it on my hand. That's how I learned. That's why I let the doctor press on the hand. But here's my question. Using the pain therapy, 25 watts, and treating 2 or 3 minutes on the bottom of the foot could I don't see any adverse effects, but it could reduce the sensation to where it could be more comfortable. The question is, do you think you need a pain feedback?
Do I need, no. The all of it's visual on it, what you're seeing on the tissues. Pain feedback on this particular instance doesn't seem to play a role at all. I mean, for example, when you're doing an ingrown toenail, do you need pain feedback to know if you've got it or not? This one, no. It's ablative enough that you're seeing where the tissue damage is and where it's not. That no, you don't. So prepping it like that, I do that too. I agree with you that it helps decrease the pain sensation, but you also get the influx of blood flow. And if we're dealing with the immune response, we're dealing with the lesion itself, which is purely a vascular lesion. We want that blood pumping, and we want it coagulating that up, so we know we've got it killed.
That's a good point. I mean, the Remy is FDA cleared for incision, excision, evaporation, and ablation, and you get that hyperemia, and you're right. It could probably absorb better. In fact, when we do wounds, I say don't let it bleed because it'll absorb into the blood, the hemoglobin. It's very effective. In wounds, you don't want to do that because it doesn't get into the wound, and therefore you can't get the the photobiomodulation as well. But this is just opposite, where you want that blood, within. You want to bring it, you want to dilate the capillary bed more effective.
Yeah.
Now, here's another procedure that I'd like you to comment. This was done by Dr. Jose Rodriguez from San Juan, near San Juan, Puerto Rico. He's doing his godson. You can't hear the volume on it. And he's not touching it at all. And he's looking for the purpura and the hyperemia. He says he's getting great results with it.
Yes.
Great results.
Yes.
This may be able to use in a patient that, is just very sensitive to start out. Combinations you can do.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on this. It can be done this way. I haven't had to go that route, but it's definitely another option in that really hypersensitive patient. Again, as far as not touching it, the touch, not touch, that's not the issue here. If you hold it in one spot long enough, and even if you're not touching the skin, it's going to ablate, and that's why they keep on moving. But that's where the skill of the individual surgeon comes into play with it, is that they've done studies with it. What you're seeing at the skin level is not what's happening underneath. This thing penetrates down deep, even when you're not touching the skin. When you're using it for pain, it penetrates down deep. Same thing here. It's a very concentrated focal thing. And when I say it penetrates, I'm not saying that you're killing things that you're not aware of. No. But you are having effects down deep with it, so don't fool yourself that you can't get it done this way.
Would you talk about the? I think it appears from a video that he's gone way too fast. Can you talk about the beeping and the cadence of the beeping of the laser?
If people actually hear it, they might understand it a little bit better. Let me do something here. No, can you hear that?
I know it by heart. It's beep, beep.
There it
beep.
is. It's a second counter. And so when we use that type of thing, it helps keep you slowed down. The tendency is you want to move real fast like he's doing here. But the beep actually is a little more than just keeping your rhythm. That beeping is also when you're getting the laser pulse. And so if you're going too fast, you're not getting the pulses that you're looking for. Can you still get some smoke? Yeah, but you're not getting the laser pulse on it. So if you listen,
that's what amazing
the machine is telling you to do, it'll walk you through it. So it's kind of stupid friendly from that standpoint.
Is this the one? This may be. Is this the correct? Is this a correct slide? This is a Puro, I believe.
Yes. Yeah,
it's a wrong slide when you talk. This is a porokeratosis.
Yeah, this is a porokeratosis. That is correct. And typically in the past, I've done injections from cortisone to doing neurolysis with it. The theories and stuff behind it are, hey, you get the nerves settled down. We don't care if we have a lesion or not, just as long as it doesn't hurt. but we started trying it out with the warts approach, like you had suggested, and we were starting to get good results. Now, I still have some trouble with like the really high pressure areas, the 5th MBJ, a hypertrophic sesamoid, those types of things. But the regular pore keratosis, IPK diffuse across the foot, it's been really highly effective.
Yeah.
And I still take the same regimen. I start out with every 2 weeks type of thing. I still start seeing some good results occurring. Then I'll jump to that 1 month interval. But the biggest thing is that whether it's the wart or the IPK pore keratosis, the biggest reason that they even bring it up is they're hurting. And in this situation here, you're that second time, first, second time even, they'll come back, say, yeah, I've still got a little bit, but it's not hurting me anymore. And typically, if you're doing a cryotherapy, you're doing canthrone, any of that type of stuff, they still hurt. They still have their issues with it, but this gets in it real fast. It builds good rapport with the patient. And again, you didn't have to pull out a needle to stab them with it.
Right. But can you talk about the role of debridement, of how you debride? Because I find that if you don't debride a lot initially, it absorbs some of the heat until you learn the technique.
I would give you that. I would give you that early on, but as I've gone on and get more experienced with it, if I debride too much early on, it does tend to hurt. That absorption of the heat has been actually helpful for me. And I'm still getting enough penetration down deep that I'm getting the results, especially the one that you see on the right here. That wart right there, again, was one of those that was hurting from walking around. That one only took, I think that was three treatments on it. And you can see what we had there at the very end. It still just had one little spike there, but I've got the footprint still there. You got these normal skin back without big, huge scars that I almost always have with the CO2 laser.
Yeah, try to put sal acid or canthrone in that area.
Yeah. No, the patient
I'm not against canthrone either, to tell you the truth. I don't want to disrespect it. I was never good with canthrone. I've seen doctors use canthrone, and it's just amazing. 1-2 shots, they're done. And
right.
But for me, it hurt like hell in my practice.
But the doctors won't tell you that. They do still hurt. And in order to get a good effective treatment with it, you have to get it to the point where it blisters. And the key thing that they don't do there, tell you, is drain the blister when it blisters and it'll feel better. But letting the patient know that ahead of time that I'm gonna hurt you so that you can hurt more so we can finally feel better. That works in the past, but it's not
canthrone. The blister out. I used to torture him with the blister. I visited a podiatrist. I'll never forget his name, Ronnie Strauss. He's dead. He's a good guy. And he was a funny guy. He'd have him laughing, but I watched the look on their face. I couldn't replicate it. This is a pretty easy procedure to replicate. Do you agree?
Yes, that is correct. It's not about my personality or anything like that. The machine's doing the work for you. And again, those types of warts, they're hard to get after. They're the reason why they show up in your office is usually because they've been through several different doctors and everybody's failed. They tried everything over the counter, everything fails. Coming to you is use a last ditch effort. And so you're either going to join the smucks or you're going to be a hero. And with the Remy, it's been very satisfying.
I don't know. We talk about the coagulation and we talk about the stimulation of the immune system. All therapy lasers stimulate the immune system, and it's not an opinion. If you ever want to see the literature, it's very well known that lasers stimulate stem cells and the immune system. We're talking about therapy lasers, which is what the is.
Right.
This is amazing what you told me here, and I've always felt.
I was shocked.
That's a shocking thing, but I always knew that deep. That's why I added warts because it's insurance covered, so you can get that return on investment. Right.
But this is the thing where you and I fought for a while. You kept trying to get me to do it, and I go, no, I can't do it. I can't see affording be able to do that type of thing. And this was the telltale right here. And that I had comparisons of what I was doing the first part of the year versus after I got the Remy. And it wasn't so much about my success rates or any of that kind of stuff. It was more about the ease and convenience of using it. Suddenly I was doing more things and watching for more things that I was missing before, but this made it so convenient to jump on board. The one of the key things I really liked about this type of thing is that when I go give somebody a cortisone shot, I don't consent them to do that. I just get the permission, I give them the shot, and I'm done. And so when it came to this type of thing, I'm not cutting the patient over. I didn't have to consent them. I could just jump right on board, call in for the Remy and get it going. I didn't have to do any setup, no injections, no post-op wound care instructions. Just start using the Poto Expert twice a day, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Here it is, Clint. This is
ouch. Yeah.
Online reviews that controls your practice.
It does.
And
it does.
I'm not practicing where the Google Meet or the Google review, it can make you or break you. It could end your practice, unfortunately.
It does. This was a
not fair.
Yeah, this was a one-time or one-star review, and they waited a couple months before they even posted it. They didn't even come talk to me about it. They just let me know how bad a job I had done. And the sad thing about it is they made accusations of things that I never do. When I go to treat somebody, I always give them, here's where all your options are. This is what I'd recommend. What do you want to do? Well, their opinion is that I forced them into doing it, a CO2 laser procedure. The second thing is the kid was a class act runner in high school, and doctors should have known that these things hurt post-operatively, so he had to run all season on a hurting, bleeding lesion, and he should have warned us about that and never recommended the procedure. I ask and I talk about that stuff all the time. I know he did, but everybody who read that review, they don't care about that. They don't come and ask the doctor. They don't do any of that type of stuff. And into the rebuttal on any of that type of stuff, everybody believes what the initial reviewer said, nothing to do with the doctor. All right. So that's where I put down that part there. When you hurt somebody, especially on the feet, they're reminded of it 5,000 times a day, plus. And then when you deal with warts, even when you got the best type of regimens out there nowadays, you're maybe about a 70% success rate, but that means 30% of the people don't get better. And that 3 out of 10 people have the same or worse pain post-operatively. They remember you every single time. This one right here, like I said before, they first 1-2 times, the pain starts to subside. So it builds some trust there. They didn't have to shut down their activities. They're not bleeding. They're not at risk of infection. And then each time that they get a treatment and you start seeing regression, I mean, that takes you to that slowly to that 100% level. And I won't claim 100%. I don't get that, but I'm sure above what I was doing before, which was about 70%. But I put my stuff at good 80-90%, and I'm just barely getting started.
Mm-hmm. And I'm getting other reports from other doctors. They say to me, especially with the poros. I have this one doctor says to me, and he's what opened my mind up to the poros, is he said to me, we're getting 90%. I'm like, stop this 90. In my brain, I'm thinking, what are you kidding me? I'm a doctor. I'm a podiatrist. There's no way. Yeah. But he said to me 90%, if it's severe poros, the worst that can happen is, the ones that come in, they're all over the foot, and you salicylic acid injections. You don't want to see them. They come back once a month. I'm told, because I talk to doctors all the time, how you doing? How you doing? I keep in touch with them because it's a learning experience for me, as well as I do care. I want you guys to do well. But they're telling me under a metatarsal, it's about 50%.
Yes.
They're telling me even with the severe cases, it's getting rid of the pain and they don't have to come back as much. I think they may stop a little bit. I mean, you're telling me, and I agree with you, that you can do this as many times as that is necessary. And they're telling me that they're improving to the point where they're not coming back once. Their lives are changed.
Yes.
Which is what you want to do. You realize when you get a patient, you change their life and the referrals flow. They
Yeah,
flow.
I think of it this way: it's like the rheumatoid patients. When it comes to IPKs and those types of stuff, where they've had to deal with it for so long, their expectations, their ideals are different. And so when you go do that 4-foot reconstruction, you think, man, that's just total obliteration with it. They come back in with, and they absolutely love you. And in this particular case, their mindset is such that they just want you to be able to do something. The Remy actually gives you an option to do something, and it is consistently successful.
Yep. I used to inject them. Can you imagine injecting with a
That hurts, man. That freaking hurts.
Damn right it hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried it, but I don't enjoy it because it hurts.
I've tried everything. Anesthetizing from the top, giving PT blocks, everything.
Yeah.
So now the next slide.
Okay.
This to me, again, when I started with lasers, CO2 lasers in 1984, I just didn't jump on. I used the laser for just debridement, but I always touched up with a chemical. But maybe I had a closed mind. I don't know. But there's a lot of doctors out there still using CO2 lasers because they have reached out to me. But I never jumped on the board with CO2 lasers back in the 80s. I had a Xanar laser.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, Xanars are they were nice for the time, but you constantly had to recharge them. You know, they were expensive to maintain, etc.
A tube was very expensive.
Yeah.
And it was heavy. I used to drag it out of the corner.
Now this particular procedure right here was early on when I was getting started. We didn't have the vacuum tips and all that stuff put together. But in this particular case, we're getting the distal ingrown on it. The nail was growing back out after a nail avulsion, and that had that bulbous tip. And so ablated the tip there and remodeled the tip so that it could continue to grow out.
That's
so
interesting.
This one doesn't, I don't remember, this one goes back into the matrix portion of itself, but was just loosening up and remodeling that distal portion.
It's amazing how you evolved with this and get it to where it is, which your guys are going to see as we continue with this. That's what I used to use the CO2 laser for, reshaping, ablating, but never completely doing the matrix with it.
Well, you can see what this is doing right there. You can see the ablating occurring with it. And it's set there, and you kick the switch and it's ready to go. Very nice. Now, I would say in this particular instance, when you're ablating like this, the biggest thing you have to watch out for any type of laser is heat, as we've explained before. And so when we use the laser matrixectomy modality, I'll be teaching you about and what to watch for and how to avoid any hazards with it, so you can start up and do a good job from the get-go and not have the complications that I've already experienced, so that you don't have to. And there, I'm just cleaning out the char so I can see what to do. Plus, it gives the tissues a little bit of time to cool down.
But that's not always necessary to do. This is another use of the.
This is another use. Yes, that is correct. This is another use, and this again doesn't involve the matrix itself. It's just remodeling that distal portion there, so she doesn't have to have a full total matrixectomy.
Right.
This one was cool. Again, traditional matrixectomies, I grew up on them. I did them for a long time. But the problem with it is so does your primary care doc, so does your nurse practitioner, so does your fellow podiatrist. So what sets you apart? And the laser, yeah, it has a good success rate with it. So does phenol, but you got to deal with the your audience, and your patient will choose the laser every time over a phenol. Let me burn you with some acid to get it under control, or let me use the funky little laser to just one and done, and we'll get you on your merry way. So it does make a big difference with it. So I have used this to help drum up referrals. The nurses I'll take care of them at the hospital. They talk to their patients, and the reputation gets around. Again, having a laser does take a little bit of extra effort, and both mentally as well as financially, to get your hands on. And your other docs are not going to make that effort, whereas you will be swamped with it just using that type of steak. I say, let me back up that. I say I have been seeing an increase just by making that switch. But
Lasers in patients. The word laser is high technology. In fact, in the 80s, I had Laser Center on my sign, and it's great because it just shows, it puts you in a different class.
it does. It
You know
does.
what you're doing, it puts you in a first class position. As much as you put into this laser and learn and study, that's why we have Dr. Jones, who will we'll talk about you know, with with the option on this. He will train you personally and guide you through this, just like I do with the pain. And you know, when I train people that have had the Remy, they all know I'm always there. Dr. Jones will always be there to help you.
Yes.
It's important. You need to have somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yep. Yep. Now let me go back to there just a sec, if good. Now we already understood the allergic reactions. You don't get that kind of stuff there, and it is definitely more precise as to what you were seeing there. What I ablated, that's the only thing that was ablated. There wasn't a bunch of peripheral damage with it. Self-sterilizing. Obviously, these are contaminated wounds, but the vaporization sterilizes the wound bed. But also, as I said before, the type of equipment you use and how you use it can also make a big difference. Are you dealing with a sterile environment or not? And this allows you to put sterile equipment in contact with your patient and not cross-contaminate it, as I've done with other type of treatment options.
Yeah. And the uniqueness of the Remy is that I took the extra effort when I started this. It's not just registered with the FDA, it's 510K approved, which we had to do safety reports and show evidence that it worked. And it's FDA cleared not only for the pain and the warts, but it's for incision, excision, evaporation, and ablation. All FDA cleared, 510K cleared.
That's
out there are
hard. That's hard to do.
It was
Very hard to do, and very grateful that you've made the effort with it, because I think it's paying off. Definitely makes a big difference in my trust of the equipment.
Yeah. And I did that intentionally because I want to contribute to my colleagues. It's tough out there. You know, if I'm a podiatrist and you're a perfect example, takes it to another level and they're successful because their patients are happy, that makes me feel good, you know, from one colleague to another one.
I appreciate it very, very much.
I appreciate what you've done.
Now, I was just trying to put anything and everything out there. You know, everybody has the MDS sheets there, your OSHA book and all that. It's a pain in the butt. And adding extra things there with the chemicals that you're keeping around the office, plus the extra training that you're trying to give your staff in handling it. Again, it's a real issue. The hazardous material costs, they're not there. There's no back order issues. You've got it right here, right now. So unless you've lost all your power, it's still going to run for you. Oh, here we are. Here we are. This is cool.
Yeah, that was done by you on a 3D printer. That's how I couldn't believe it. I'm just amazed. Can you tell us a little bit? It's a little bit off topic because it's just, I'm sorry I didn't put it in here, but the work that you've done with a 3D printer, I mean, wow. I've never seen a 3D printer in my life.
I don't know if we didn't talk about it before. I have a sculptor background, and so I like seeing shapes. I like handling things. I grew up carving a lot. But when the 3D printers started coming out, they were cost prohibitive, and so it took me a while to get my hands on one. But when I finally did, the interesting thing about a 3D printer, and there's lots of different types, but the most common that you and I play around with, they're nothing more than a fancy glue gun that's been set up on an XYZ axis. And so literally it can draw a profile, an elevation like you see in architecture. So it'll draw that one CT slice, and then it'll elevate in the Z axis and draw the next elevation there, and draw it, expand it, contract it, and so you can get this 3D composition occurring with it. But really, it's just a 3D printer or glue gun is the easiest way to do it. Then it melts out the plastic. But the other thing that's funny about it is just as cheap or cheaper than running your printer and printing out your letter that you're sending out to everybody. It's the same type of thing. The costs of running your cartridges are the same. So it's really an easy thing to get into, to play around with. But this, in our situation here, when we were using the laser, we had the vacuum on the side. But when I'm doing that, it's hard. Number one, the patient doesn't think it's real professional when you go to remove their ingrown toenail. You said, here, you hold the vacuum. So my staff would come in and hold that vacuum while I did the lasering and all that type of stuff. When we hit pandemic, like everybody else, I lost all my staff. And so I had a situation where I needed to be able to hold my vacuum, do my laser, all that kind of stuff at the same time. And so it just so happened that I've been playing around with the 3D stuff. And I thought, well, hey, I can incorporate the two of them together. And that's where this started coming together. And so it was a perfect situation. So when your treatment come around, you said you bet we could do this, a matrixectomy with it. That's when I put that together and started playing around with it.
Marketing. Sarah, are you available? So you can, Sarah is, I think a lot of people know her. She is the founder of 10 Toes Marketing, and now she's podiatrymeeting.com with her partner, Ann. How could I not know Ann? You'll see them everywhere. But Sarah, if you look at my websites and everything, Sarah developed all that very well. The marketing is important, and it's in-office marketing. I don't want you spending tens of thousands of dollars on TV, on radio, on billboards within your practice. And this marketing is set up so that the patient will ask you for the procedure, so you have to spend 20 minutes explaining it to them.
Yeah.
Yep. So once you purchase the Remy laser, there is a form on the website, just your marketing toolkit form, and it goes directly to me. And so you can request which of the materials you'd like, and I will customize all of them for you. So we have, for foot and ankle, we have 6 different practice posters. These are 18 inches by 24 inches. We also have a trifold brochure. We have a couple of different trifold brochures. I'm actually in the middle of updating a wart brochure, and then now adding even more capabilities to the cover. So we're going to run out of room here pretty soon. But so there's a trifold brochure, but I do have different ones. There is one that's just general, where it talks about all of the different functions that the Remy is capable of. And then we do have some that are treatment, or rather condition specific. So fungal nail neuropathy, pain, inflammation, and again, developing more information on warts, IPKs, and obviously an option for the ingrown toenail. And then advertisement templates, when we say that, it's really for Facebook, just recommending digital advertising. Postcard templates, those can be mailed, but they can also just be used as handouts in your office. Appointment cards are always nice if you are simply trying to do some cross awareness. I actually cross awareness versus cross selling. I like to cross awareness, cross education of your patients with appointment cards. If they're, therefore something that is somehow not on the list of Remy functionality, then you can always get them to schedule it for another appointment. We do have educational patient videos, which we are also upgrading those. Again, when I was talking earlier, we started this program in 2018, so it is time to update some of these materials. So I'm in the process of doing this. So I see many familiar names on the attendance list right now, and so I will be reaching out to many of you who have received these materials a couple of years ago, and especially the videos. The videos are really the one that is just kind of bothering me, I guess, for lack of a better word, that I really just want, I'm motivated to get that one updated for you sooner than later. And then website verbiage. I obviously don't control any of your websites, but the verbiage, some simple images, the videos that you can use in your waiting room. We also have embed codes that your webmasters can embed those into your websites. You can also just use them on social media. So, and then something that I didn't even put on this list, but you can see a picture here. We've got little countertop displays. We've had people request 6-foot banners. So really, the options are basically kind of endless. And all you have to do is fill out that form and I'll get back to you. And I do request that you send me a logo if you don't have a high resolution logo. That happens more often than you would imagine. And I will redraw that for you and give it to you in a vector format. So you have a nice high resolution logo that I definitely recommend you keep into your intellectual property file somewhere and don't let that get lost. But yeah, I am just here to help. And obviously, David has made this laser extremely cost effective, and the ROI is insane, and how quickly the ROI comes. And one of the functionality and the referrals is key, but marketing always helps.
Hey, Sarah, can you do
Yes.
this one? Can you do this one? Heel hath no fury like a woman's corn.
Oh, God.
That'll be good, won't it?
Oh my, that was the best thing I've ever heard.
That shows class. That shows class.
I mean, I'm writing it down for you. Don't worry, and I'm gonna put a thought bubble on with your picture.
I've worked on that for a long time.
That's good. I would trademark that. All right.
Okay.
I forgot that I was in control of the slides. Here we go.
Okay. You know, it's, can I just talk about this a little bit? Is that I tell everybody that I train, the goal is to create a laser center. Obviously, you have to do the matrixectomy and the warts because a physician has to do that. But my goal is with the pain, the inflammation, even the neuropathy after they've been examined by the doctor, where you're doing something else, it frees you up. It's the most unattended feature is that your staff is running it while you may be in the operating room, you may be doing something else and treating other patients if you want to. When I was in practice, I would do 10 of these a day while I was, in one room, somebody was doing them for me. I'd go in and say hello. I like to say hello to them, talk to them, and then it's done and you can go do something else. Patients do want to see your face. But you can, a lot of times, and depends on the state. The only state that's a little difficult, you can't be on site. I don't know about your state in Oregon, but I always find that out for you because I have all the rules and regulations. But the majority of states that you don't need to be on site, and that's an option that you have.
Okay. That's awesome.
See what else we got. So there it is. I do want to talk a little about some of my ideas for the future. This is where you can contact me. There's my number. You can always text me. I always say if I'm not training somebody, or sleeping, I'm helping. I'm here to help you. There's no stupid question. We also train your assistants. Everybody's certified, and we give CME credits as well. Now, I just want to talk about the future. It's not. I don't stop with this. We're always trying to improve it. And the most important thing that I'm looking at right now is making it easy for you. To developing another handpiece for the fungus toenails, which we're going to have other lectures. I'm going to bring other people on if you want to discuss neuropathy, people that are using it and have experience so that they can give you pointers, which are important. Neuropathy is a very big topic, very big topic. And the Remy has been very effective, but it has to be properly presented. I'm not here to talk about it. But the one thing I'm working on next is where, and with fungus toenails, it's 2 minutes for the big toe, 1 minute for the 2, 3, 4, 5. How about if I had a handpiece that did all 5 at once?
That would be wonderful.
Foot. Again, I'm trying to make it easier and more effective for you, my colleagues. I know the profession. It has changed. It's amazing how it's changed. I always joke around. I did a 1-year surgical residency. a 2 or 3. I don't think 3 was even available. Kern Hospital, I don't think you guys even know Kern, was a 2-year. Pittsburgh was a 2-year. I'm just so proud of our profession. 3, 4-year fellowships. My God, I always joke around. I may not get into podiatry school today. The quality, and you're part of that. You know, Dr. Jones, you're part of that. Your training is just amazing. But I'm here to make it easier for you. So I don't know if there's any questions. I think this was excellent. It was covered very well. If anybody has any questions, they can text me. They can ask them now if they want to. We're kind of going over. I can't believe it's 9:10 or around 9:07. I'm looking at it. So does anybody have any questions? If not, we're going to say good night.
Well, did you want to?
They do, yes,
The laser working?
Are we?
Or is it enough on what you got on the video?
yes, that would be great because am I muted? Just a second. Okay, you can hear me. Yeah, we do have some questions, but I was going to ask because I know I put in the one video. I don't know. Do you want to guide me in the Google Drive, and I'll stop sharing my screen for a minute, and I'll try to find that other video while you guys answer some questions?
Sure.
Well, I have, if I do have an orange in front of me with the machine, if you want me to just put it together and do it right here.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So if you can share your web, do you want to share your webcam or your screen?
It would be my webcam.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you see your little next to your or see like up on your tools, your little video camcorder looking guy? I will send you a request too.
Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, so we're on.
You are on. We see
Got an orange to pick on here. But again, the thing what's nice about it before is everything's in a packet. And I can just pop it out of the packet and put it on my handpiece.
I've never seen you with a white coat on before.
Put it on my handpiece here, but then my vacuum, that just slips onto here. So anything that's touching the patient is all sterile. So that makes it very nice. The I usually do it with a sterile glove.
Can you hold it up just a little bit?
Yeah, right there. Then the other thing is, remember I was telling you about I was alone. I didn't have staff here to do stuff with. If I can tilt this, just a second. There we go. Tilt this down here on my card. I have it set up. This has a pneumatic switch for the vacuum. I can just kick that on. There we go. Kick that on. But then you also see my switch right here. All I have to do is drop it on the floor. Now I can control everything with my foot. I've got it running. Let me get this back up here now. Now I've got it running. Be able to do all my work. If I can see what's going on. There we go. So it's very easy, self-contained, and takes care of itself very well. So do you have any questions about any of it? Because again, everything's very simple to use.
Yeah, I need to get you the Remy cart.
Yes, but we have that was the upgrade on it, and so we haven't gotten that part. So I've just been substituting a ultrasound bench, and it's been working well.
It's not a 3D
We
printed.
have some questions and we have a few just comments as well. So there's one earlier said, with the CO2 laser, I had difficulty getting around the corner at the Matrix, had some spicules regrow.
Oh, I've got an answer. Can you hold 1 second? I'll go show you what to do with it. Just a sec.
All right, well, while he's going to grab that, let's see, David, I'm sure there's a good one.
He's a big
Where do you
trail.
get
I see the Portland Trailblazer pictures up there. It brings back very bad memories. when the 76ers got swept by the Trailblazers back in my day in the 60s and the 70s. What was his name? The Big Red. What's Big Red's name? I can't think of his name.
Bill Walton.
Walton.
Yes.
Yeah, Bill Walton. He killed the Sixers.
Yes.
Even while Dr. Jones is getting set up, can you tell the audience where they can get the cart?
I can, which one? I have many ones. Just reach out to me and I'll give you your options.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this room is this is not stuff that we've collected over the years. It's actually been stuff the patients brought in. Because we put up 1 or 2 pictures with it. And over the years, patients just figured that people could see more of their stuff from their man cave if they brought it here. We never bought anything. They just said, here, it's a gift to you. And so we just kept it as a museum to our patients.
All right. Are you ready to roll, Dr. Jones? Or I
am. Here we go. This baby right here. See that? And literally what I do is on that nail, I'll come in here. And after I get there we go. After we get this ablated back in here, I'll actually lift up that corner and grab it and just lift it up. And that way I'm able to get around that corner into that matrix that you're talking about. And literally when I get done with that, all I've got is a small hole here. But when I grab this flap, it opens up in the whole area to be able to see and get my laser down underneath there. So it's not really a problem, but I had to develop this little part. And I've got another one that I created that actually on the other end, it'll have a curette. So as I'm working, I lift with one end, and then I flip and then cure out the other end and then go back to laser in again. So it's made it really quite smooth. And David and I will talk.
Yeah.
We'll get that done.
Can you talk a little, your anatomical description, which is true, but talk about the anatomy of the matrix and the ligaments.
Yes. Let me grab a model real quick and that'll be easier to see.
David, how can somebody order more tips?
They just have to text me and we can get them. Text me or email me and I'll arrange for you to get them.
Who out there doesn't have one of these? But when you look at the anatomy of it, you've got your nail here, and then you've got your nail bed, you've got your matrix right here, right, and it's contiguous with the bone periosteum. When you look at this, and this is something that Kesselman taught me, hands of a surgeon. Anyway, but this part right here, everybody thinks that once you lift up the proximal eponychium, that's where all your matrix is. It's not. It's only on the most proximal and the plantar aspect. This portion is where your matrix is. This upper portion here, that's epithelium. That's where your cuticle and all that stuff is coming out from. But the growth of the matrix is plantarward. So when I reach in here and I'm lifting up that flap, I'm not spending all my time ablating the dorsal flap. I'm right here at the back, and on the plantar portion down to bone is where my matrix is. The part that he was talking about is when you look at the side here, this shows it better. When you look at the anatomy of that bone, there we go. When you look at the anatomy of the bone, we got this little sombrero flare right here. That matrix comes right back into right here. And I know a lot of you have seen x-rays. It doesn't look like this. It'll look like this, but then you'll have a spike forward. Where the heck did this spike forward come from? My suspicion, and again, I've got to do more research on it, is that there is actually a ligament that runs from here to here. Your toe does not look like this. It's nice, rounded, bulbous. It doesn't look like this would look like. And if it did, your toe would be more like an elbow. But it has that flare. So literally, there's this little pocket right inside here where that matrix sets. And when you get regrowth, that's what's happened, is you've missed this little flare right here. So watch for that. And the tissue is different because, and I'm preaching to the choir. I just want to make sure that we understand each other. That matrix, as opposed to the sub-Q fat that's surrounding it, it literally feels like canned clams. You know, that it's that clam meat type consistency. And so you can tell when you got it and when you don't. The other thing that's interesting about lasers, when it hits bone, it flares. It has a little flash to it, almost like lighting a match type look. So you can tell when you've gotten too deep with it. CO2s typically you'll get that flare, but it'll immediately penetrate and dig into the bone. This right here actually buys you some time. You can see the flare, and it backs off a little bit, and you're able to stop and not have that deep injury that you would typically see with the laser.
That's
Does that
good.
explain it well enough, David?
I like it. Thanks
We
for
have
the
a few other questions. Can you discuss the post-care protocol for the wart removal?
Yeah, talk about Poto Expert.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Poto Expert is a product that is produced and handled by Laser Remy, but it is a biomimetic lipid that reflects what you see in the body. You know, when we talk about man-made human or insulin, you know, it's picture perfect with the same stuff you produce in the body. That's the same type of thing here, and they've been able to put it into a bottle. Now, what's cool about it is this particular product has been tested that not only is it an emollient, but is actually an emollient that it incorporates itself into the wound base. The one thing that they did biopsies of it, and when they used it, they actually saw the skin thicken up to 3 times thicker than what it was prior to starting its use. So it is actually found to incorporate itself down deep. Why is that important? When we treat any type of issues, whether that be like an athlete's foot or any type of bacterial infection, what we do is we get rid of the bacteria, we get rid of the fungus, but we do nothing for the damage of the tissue. It's just stop insulting it so that its black eye can heal. This is coming through and putting that meat on the black eye to give it things to heal with. And so you see a big change in it. The tissues start getting back to normal. I think that's where you get the big response with using the Poto Expert in the case of the warts. And we'll post-operatively, we'll have them start using that on there twice a day. And especially if you can get them to do it for the first month, they'll be sold on it. Twice a day, just rub it in and you go your merry way. It makes it very convenient to be the first and last thing that they do throughout the day. And
Dr. Jones, which Poto Expert product is it? I'm showing my screen.
That one in particular, I'll use the redness and itching.
Oh, okay.
The itching one.
And the interesting about Poto Expert, it's evidence-based and peer-reviewed, published years ago in Germany. And I do have the article where they did biopsies. Put them. I'll stomach it the first time I saw the electron microscopic slides. They showed the lipid barrier being repaired, the lamina of the barrier being repaired. And when you have warts, fungus toenails, dried cracked skin, the lipid barrier is damaged.
Yeah.
I've spoke to Brian Markinson about this, Tracy from the Temple School. The lipid barrier is always damaged. We need to repair it to reduce, the chance of reinfection. But it's amazing. Twice a day for 30 days.
There's nothing out there that does it like that.
It just repairs it. And this is evidence-based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been very, very impressed with it.
There it is. I always offer anybody that wants to try it out, I will send you a little kit at no charge, because we can talk about it all day long. When you see the results, you're sold. I want you to
I'm going to say, don't take them up on it, because you'll be sold on it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Yeah, I want to help you get best results. The one thing that COVID taught me was we're in the real game here. Patients are alert, they're educated, and they want to see the highest technology available for them. And Poto Expert cannot be purchased on Amazon. It's something that you can't buy in a drugstore. It's a great product. We need to have the highest technology and separate us from the pack.
Yes.
We do have a handful of people curious to know about your pricing structure for ablation.
Oh, for me, with it, I had
anyone's recommendation. Yeah, either you or David would be great.
Well, what procedure are we talking about? Are we talking about the Poto Expert, or
there's a couple of them. So we'd like to know how you were charging for wart ablation, and then, well, I guess we'll just start there.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Did you hear it, Clint?
What are you charging for wart ablation?
Yes.
It's insurance covered.
Right. Exactly.
So I mean,
we didn't change that up at all.
What's the reimbursement like? It's anywhere per session between $80 and $100. Is that a fair
I
assessment?
don't know. It's more than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's more than that.
$80 and $100, and the treatments are anywhere from 1 to 10. I mean, it is.
And it sounds expensive if they're paying out cash. I get that. But what the patient is looking for is, like you said before, results. If you give results, they'll pay for it. If you can't give results, they won't. And they come to you already jaded, having a lot of failures from personal approaches as well as to other docs working on it. This gives them the one that's been very consistent in the results.
And I always say, when you're talking about treatments, don't promise them it's going to be 1 or 2 treatments with the verruca. It's a virus. We have to treat the virus. I always say it's anywhere between 1 and 10 treatments. Yeah. My feedback is it's an average of 3 or 4 treatments.
Yes.
An average. But never promise them. It's a virus. We have to control the virus and see how you respond. And everybody's different. Don't promise them, especially with warts, that it's going to be gone the first session. It can. I've seen it go away the first session. Don't do that. Don't make a promise you keep, because you don't know the answer. I've had many, because I do surveys, and I've got texts back. It's about an average of 3 or 4, but I would never say it's only going to take 3 or 4 treatments. Well, you'll kind of know after the treatments is you're going to go away. You'll see the response, but it's an immune response and a coagulation response.
Yes.
And what is the post-op protocol / expected healing time for matrixectomy? The Remy. Is it shorter than phenol?
No, it's about the same. Phenol sometimes can be a little bit faster with it, but the effectiveness is where you get the consistency. When I typically work with a patient, and I've done that in the past with phenols as well as the other, is that I tell them, it's 4 to 8 weeks. And everybody varies. So when post-operatively they're able to shower, but I don't want them playing, going swimming, dunking in the bathtub, but quick showers should be fine. But they tolerate that just fine. The biggest thing is that once they get past that initial pain cycle with either one of them, the rest of them don't really care.
What setting in the laser do you use when performing the matrix? I cannot say. I'm like, I know how to say it. I just keep getting tongue-tied tonight. I'm just going to say
the one that works.
To me.
Yeah, that's when if you got a machine already, you want to know how to start doing it. That's something you'll have to go to talk with David, because there's certain settings that you need to make use of on that. He's got a program for it.
I will tell you that I will not. I don't know. The settings are universal. We've worked out the settings, but I really don't want you attempting it without a personal training session with Clint. It's important. Trust me.
It is.
And I know I put on the slides, David, that there's the pre-order special to save $250. It's a 10%. We just had questions about the price of it. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and address
I'm going to tell you that right now. Cool. To add the option, including the whole vacuum system, the attachments, the marketing for the procedure, all the consultation and training is $2,500. And you get a 10%. What's a 10% if you?
That's the attachment. Is there for current Remy owners?
Yeah, it's an option. I will tell you that I personally, for anybody that has the Remy already, I will give them the attachment, but you still have to have the training. I don't want problems. Is that a fair answer? You can all boo me or clap me. I don't, it's important.
I think that is a fair answer. Let's see. I'm just going through some of these really quick. Do you get plume when using the verruca handpiece? Can you connect the vacuum to it?
Yes. Yes. This right here is, may I, Dave?
Sure.
Yeah, this is the handpiece that goes with that. Dang it, right there. That's the handpiece with it. And then it has a laser tip that goes on that. There you go. Thank you very much, Dave. But the laser tip, then it just applies, it's just a lure lock on that. There we go. Lure lock on that. and that slips into a vacuum tip. This vacuum hooks on right there, and you're ready to fly. So yeah, you can do it either way. It doesn't produce a huge plume with it, but if that's what you'd like to do, it's there and available.
Right.
All right.
What is the tip on there? Do you use that at all? Is that for distance? Is that also for retraction?
For what part? This right here?
For the actual tip, not the vacuum part. The tip that you bent and it's being bent and angulated that you added to it.
This part, this part right here, you mean?
Correct. Talk about what's that?
This is actually a physical retractor, because when I go in there, I mean, you've got two flaps, and I'm in there lifting up the top flap. This one right here is at the bottom, retracting the bottom flap, and then the laser port's right here, and you can see that on my finger.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more how you use that for retraction? The extension.
This right, the extension itself, if you've got the portion, I mean, you can push it right into it. I mean, it's a solid little piece and allows me just to pull and retract that portion back. So on your model, yeah, it's hard to show that part there. So on your model, if you've got your nail right here, all I'm doing is this portion, I'm actually physically pushing it into the spot and pulling the flap, the label fold back. So it's not hard. It's just pushing it into the spot and pulling it back. So your matrix is towards the bone. Your skin is away from the bone. So it makes it really easy to pull that part back and get in there and do it. And then I use that secondary retractor if I need to get the flap to move up and out of the way.
Sounds good.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you currently have any percentage of success with this procedure?
This particular procedure, the thing that's nice about lasers, and I used to do the laser itself, and then I'd use the phenol to wipe out the char. At least that was my excuse for it. I'd use it just to wipe out the char in the bottom of it. But I moved away from doing that and just doing purely laser. And what's nice about it is it's like doing a sharp matrixectomy. Because what you see is what you get. If the tissue's there, the tissue's there. If it's not, it's not. One trick that I've run into or learned with the doing sharp matrixectomies over the years is that the hardest thing to do is to skin a cat. And the reason why is you constantly are puncturing the pelt. You've got holes all through that pelt, right? In this particular instance, the same type of thing. You're trying to scrape it off the periosteum. It doesn't work when you're doing it sharp. But if you take a curette, once you get sharp down to bone, put down sharp to bone and scrape the curette across it, the matrix will just lift right back off. The only part that doesn't is down here in this corner flare. That part is where you've got to drop the tip of your 64 in there and just scrape it across there and then lift it off. But everybody makes that mistake of trying to do everything sharp. You don't need to do it there. Just get down sharp down to bone, put your curette and scrape it across, and that will lift it off very clean without puncturing the pelt.
But you're talking about a supine type of procedure.
Correct. Supine, winograd, any of that type of thing. But this technically, you're doing the same type of thing. I don't know if you remember the bifurcators from years ago. When you put that onto the tissue, you start to see a kind of a hue, a glow at the base of the lesion. That's when you knew you were where you needed to be. This type of thing does the same type of thing. When it starts and it gets down to the base of the bone, you'll start to see it lift. And so you stop there, put in your curette, scrape, and move that, and then you'll see what parts are left, and then you go after, you do that part, and then you do the next part. So you're seeing what you're doing, not just hoping you got there.
Yeah, but with the Remy laser, you're not putting stitch. I mean, I've seen supines. In fact, I was taught by Ray Supine at the higher school. Is they cut it back, and like with the winograd, they actually sutured it. So you're accomplishing like a supine or a winograd without stitches.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
I'm sorry. Do you debride before or after the wart treatment when you use the Remy?
I debride after myself personally. When I tried to debride before, I get too much heat buildup, and it's kind of like doing a fleshy wart on the top of the foot. It's very sensitive with it. So I'll leave it and I'll go right through the wart and do that ablating. And then afterwards, I'll trim all that stuff off, let them start doing their home therapy. And then when they get back in those 2 weeks, then I do it again. And I found it very effective that way. The patient tolerates it better for me, and I get good consistency that way.
With warts, do you use any supplements?
No, no. If you've got something that would make it more effective along with it, share it with me. But no, I've been able to stick strictly, let the machine do its job, follow up with the Poto expert, and patients have been very compliant with it.
And we used to use vitamin A and stuff like that. I don't know how effective it was. My father was a podiatrist, loved it. And I think they didn't know what to do.
Speaking of Poto expert, we had another question. Do you drop ship?
Yes. What do we mean by drop? No, I
was
don't know.
going to answer it but myself, but then I wasn't sure. Do you drop ship to the patient, or is it all, does the practice have to have inventory in the office?
It's sent to, it's purchased by the doctor. Okay. And the doctor will be able to, it's approximately, and it lasts for months. Okay. It's a small bottle, but it's a foam that they actually did a test. If you've ever been to our webinars, a large Diet Pepsi, a liter, will fill a large, and we have actually a video, if you ever want to see it, I'll get it for you, where we demonstrate it. So it lasts for months at twice a day. It's much more cost effective. And two is, it's basically $18 a bottle to the practice. If you have a Remy laser already, you get a 10% discount, but they're selling it for $30 plus to the patient, and they can't get it anywhere else. So it's another thing that you're going to be able to dispense to the practice. Are you going to make a lot of money with it? No, every little bit helps, but it's the effectiveness and the quality of the product. We got to look for quality products that are evidence-based, and Poto Expert is evidence-based.
Yeah,
most of our, we want wow patients. We want to wow them, like, wow, he uses a laser, he uses this, he uses that. You got to go for high-tech, effective, cost-effective too. I mean, the Remy laser, there's no salesman that's going to show up and with a commission of 20, 30, 40%. I know, because I used to be, before I'm a direct manufacturer and importer. This is all through me direct. So there's no middleman with any of this, which makes it better for you as the doctor, because some of these lasers out there, believe me, they're not even the same quality as the Remy. And how do I prove it? I give you a 5-year warranty. I also, if I don't want you down, how many times have you been down with some kind of product? You call me. If I can't fix it within 48 hours, we pick it up. We have all repair centers. The repair on the Remy is less than 1%, but I don't want you down. I'll give you loaners. I don't want you down. I've been down before. I know what it's like. I don't want you to cancel 50 patients. It's important. I don't want you to look bad in front of your patients.
No.
And you just pack it up and it's out the door. It's not where somebody has to fly in and repair it and wait for them to fly. I've been through that. Okay. This thing, it's only 4 pounds. It actually, I'll tell you an interesting thing that happened is I had a doctor upgrade to the Remy. It was a medical doctor. He wanted a 40, it's what he wanted. He wanted a 45 watt. He wanted it. They're all portable, but he shipped back the laser in the shockproof case. I had that happen twice, not in the box, just had the label on it, and it was in perfect condition. I don't recommend doing that, but it was in perfect condition. This is a true shockproof, waterproof case. They're not cheap cases. I mean, you can take that Remy and I have a doctor, it's right now, he's flying to, he works actually in Qatar. He's a personal physician for the king of Qatar, and it's above his first class seat. It's sitting right above the, where you store things. It's that light. You can move it for office to office. And that's what the Remy was really meant for. But I have doctors buying 2, 3, 4 of them because it's cost effective to do that. Do I recommend it? It wasn't meant to do that. It was meant so that you could put it in the case and go. Pop it in there, and there's no detachments. You have the handpiece, everything, all the handpieces can go from fungus to pain to matrixectomies in 10 seconds. You know, I thought this out because I've been through it all. And, you know, and I know the things that, I'll tell you an interesting thing. You just put the handpiece in the back. I did that intentionally. Most lasers are on the side. If you put a holder on the side of that laser, 5 years, you'll get a stress crack. Not in everyone. You get a stress crack. That goes right in there. If you look at the handle, there's no, it's a grip right in the back. You just grab it. You know, it's meant that way. You know, I took everything that I could think of, and I'm always continuing that I've learned. I've worked for every major company, K-Laser. I was a part owner of Aspen Lasers. I worked for Light Cure. So I learned, this actually is based on a K-Laser. It was only 12 watts. It cost $30,000 10 years ago. You know, you can't spend that kind of money in your practice today. You need to be cost effective. And the Remy is very cost effective.
Yes.
Very cost effective. We have over 700 of these out in the country right now in 4 years, which it's like I pinched myself. I said, wow, you know, I never thought it would turn on, but this is my, you know, some people play golf. Some people, you know, go hiking. Me, this is a love of mine because I want podiatry to have something that they can benefit their patients with and benefit their practices. And that's why the Remy existed. And we're always upgrading, you know, and working. This has got Android now. I can download, I can turn on the internet on this laser and send programs right to it. You can actually play videos right in the Remy. I don't know if you ever knew that. Did you know that?
Yeah, how do you think I get through my treatments?
There's a button on there. If you press, I'm going by memory, and we can actually, someday I'd like it where I have a video of you talking about it. You just turn it on and walk out, you know, and they watch it while they're waiting.
Well, I know we do have a handful of other questions, but most of them, I think maybe I can email them to you if that's okay. We're looking at 20 till 10 here, so I'm sure
we've had enough. I got to tell you, I'm amazed at the amount of people that have stayed on this webinar. Amazed.
But somebody did ask earlier if this was going to be available later, and I did let them know that it is being recorded, so we will be able to send the recording out, and anyone can review it again if they had to leave early. But then we definitely, there's a record of everyone's questions once the webinar is over. However, if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to David. I will share my screen here again with contact information. Just
I'm looking at the Portland Trailblazers. Oh. Okay.
There we go.
Bad memory.
How's that? So feel free to email or text David. There's also, you can go online, you can go to remylaser.com. There's a contact form there as well, but David is Johnny on the spot with his text messages.
So I think we should call tonight. I do want to thank Sarah, Clint. I want to thank you for an excellent job. And I want to thank everybody for spending the time to come on to learn about the Remy laser. I hope we were good for you. And I want to thank everybody and have a great night.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Again, keep your eyes peeled for the recording and have a fantastic evening. Dr. Jones, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Next time.
Night.
Good night, everybody. Good night.